Hey guys, so I know that today was kind of a crazy day in some of the classes as to the new material, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to go over some of the homework problems with you in a video. So we're going to start with number 1. So later in the day, so first period, we just were writing out our factors. I noticed with first period that we were having trouble coming up with all the factors on some of these, so I decided later in the day to just make some factor trees. That way we're going to be guaranteed to have the right answer every time, and we won't leave out any numbers because of a multiplication fact that we might forget to add in there. So we're just going to start with a factor tree for 16. So the way that you're going to do a factor tree is you're going to do your little split off there. All right, we're going to think of two numbers. It can be any two numbers that will multiply to equal 16. Probably the first two that come to mind would probably be 2 times 8, or you can do 4 times 4. I'll do 4 times 4. It really doesn't matter as long as you keep track of all of your numbers, all right? So once I've done 16, I'm done with that number at that point because I've already split it up into 4 times 4. So now I'm going to look at 4. Now I can split 4 up into 2 times 2. So I'm going to just keep splitting my numbers until I can't anymore. All right, so since I split 4 up, I'm done with that. All right, 2 is a prime number, so I can't split it anymore. 2 is a prime number, so I can't split it anymore. But I do still need to split this 4 up, so it's also going to be 2 times 2. And once I've split it, I'm done because it's already in there. All right, so I've split up 16. We're going to do the exact same thing with 12. I'm going to do a factor tree for 12. The first thing that comes to my mind is 2 times 6. If you wanted to do 3 times 4, you could. All right, once I've split that 12, I'm done with it, so I can mark it out. All right, so now I have 2 times 6 here. All right, 2 times 6, 6 will split up. 6 can split up into 2 times 3. So now that I've split it, I'm done. I'm going to mark it out. All right, so now I'm left with all prime numbers. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. So everything is prime. All right, and I'm being careful to make sure that that line stays where the split is. So what we're going to look for is what the both sides have in common. So we're looking for the greatest common factor, what they have in common. So if you'll notice, on this side I have a 2, and on this side I have a 2. So right now I can tell that they have a 2 in common. Okay, so I've written that 2 down. I'm going to mark it out. All right, another one that they have in common, they also have a second 2. So there you can see where I'm getting that second 2 from. So I'm going to write that one down, times 2. Okay. Now all that's left over here, I have 2 2's and I have a 3. Those don't have anything else in common. We can't count this because it's already together on that side of the line. So right now we have nothing else in common from 16 and from 12. So I'm just going to multiply these two to get my answer. 2 times 2 is 4. So the greatest common factor, the biggest number that will go into 16 and into 12 is 4. This just allows me to find that answer without, again, having to worry about missing any factors when we write it out. All right, so I'm going to do number 2 the exact same way. All right, so 4 can split up. I can split 4 into 2 times 2. Okay, and so I've split 4 up. That one's done since I've split it. All right, 2's won't split. They're prime, so I'm done with that one. So now we're going to look at 30. All right, 30, I can split that into 3 times 10. So I'm going to mark that out. You could have done 6 times 5. You could have done 15 times 2. We just want to avoid using 1. Okay, so 3 will not split any further, but I can split my 10 into 2 times 5. So now I've split 10. So all that's left down here, I have 2's under 4. I have 3, 2, and 5 under 30. I'm looking for what they have in common. It looks like I have a 2 on both sides, so I'm going to put equals 2. All right, and then I'm just going to double check if they have anything else in common. This side only has a 2. There's no 2's left over here, so 2 is my final answer. The biggest number that will go into 4 and into 30 is 2. All right, number 3. I'm going to draw my line splitting it again. And I'm going to split 10. So 10, when I split 10, it'll split into 2 times 5. All right, 2 is prime, 2 won't split anymore, and 5 won't split anymore. All right, and then I'm going to split 22. 22 splits into 2 times 11. All All right, 2 won't split anymore. 11, even though it's double digit, it is a prime number. The only thing that equals 11 is 11 times 1, so that one's done. All right, so now I'm looking on both sides to see what they have in common. The only thing I have in common is a 2. All right, and if I look, there's a 5 and 11. Nothing else matches, so my answer is just 2. Okay. Number 4. For number 4, I have 39. Now 39, this one, some people have asked about today in class. 39, 3 will go into that. 3 goes into 3, 3 goes into 9, so 3 goes into 39. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 9, 13 times. All right, so 3 times 13. 3 is prime, 13 is prime, so I'm done with that one. Okay. 18, I can split that. I can do 2 times 9. You could also do 3 times 6. Either way, we'll end up at the same answer. All right, so I split 18. I'm going to split 9 into 3 times 3. All right, so now if I look at this one, there's a 3 on this side, and there's a 3 on my 18 side. I'm going to put equals 3. Those are done. And that's the only thing they have in common. They don't share anything else, so my answer here is just 3. Sometimes your answer can be super, super simple and just a single digit. All right, you only have to worry about multiplying if they share more than one thing, like we saw on number 1. On number 1, we saw that they shared, both had 2's. Okay. All right, last one that we're going to work out together, and then I want you to finish the rest of these on your own. That's only leaving you 4 problems to do on your own. All right, and making sure you check over your work. All right, so 24, when I look at that, I think of 2 times 12. Some people might think of 4 times 6. Some people might think of 3 times 8. All right, you choose. All right, 2 cannot split up anymore, so now I'm going to look at 12, which again, I think of 2 times 6. And you'll notice, guys, I'm using the easiest thing that comes to my mind, because we're all going to get the same numbers. There isn't one way that's necessarily shorter or longer than the other. And then 6 would split into 2 times 3. I also like this because it keeps, and y'all, I forgot to put my X's. I did 24, I did 12, I did 6. That just keeps me from using those numbers because I've already split them. This also keeps my 2's kind of together. It makes it easy to find. All right, 15 will split into 3 times 5. All right, 3 and 5 won't split anymore. All right, if I look closely at these, the only thing that they have in common is 3. So I'm going to put equals 3. And then just double check, 2's, 5's, nothing else in common. So my answer here is 3. All right, guys, make sure you finish those other 4 on your own. I do want to look at some LCMs together, though. So least common multiple. Now, when I'm doing these, we don't just do what they have in common. We also do what is left over. So that L, when we're thinking of least common multiple, also reminds us to do what's left. And I'll show you what I mean by that on this first problem. Okay. So for 15, 15 would split into 3 times 5. And then 3 and 5 won't split anymore, so that's it. 8 would split into 2 times 4. And then my 4 would split into 2 times 2. So there's all my splits. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, I'm looking for what they have in common first, just like on those other ones. But if I look here, these do not have anything in common. So I'm just going to multiply what's left. So if I look down here at the bottom, what's left is my 3 times 5 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? So when I work that out, 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30, times 2 is 60, times 2 is 120. Okay? So we don't just do what's in common, we do what is left over. So let's look at number 2, because number 2 we are going to have some stuff in common, so maybe that'll help us out, because maybe you're going, I'm confused. All right, so let's look at number 2 together. All right, so 30, we're still splitting it just like before. 30, to me, when I look at that, I think of 2 times 15. Some people might think of 6 times 5. Remember, as long as you split all the way, we'll get it. 15 will split up into 3 times 5. So I did 30, I did 15. All right, 5. 5 is prime. There's nothing I can do. All right. So again, the first thing I'm going to look at, do y'all see how I have a 5 on both sides? I have a 5 on both sides here. That's what they have in common. Because that means I can only use the 5 one time. I can only use the 5 once because they both had it. Times, so I did my 5s. And now I'm just going to do what's left. So what was left over? The 2 and the 3. So I did the 2 and I did the 3. All right. So again, for least common multiple, we're doing what they have in common and what's left over. All right. 5 times 2 is 10, times 3 is 30. So what that means is 30 is the smallest number. 30 can multiply to give me 30, and 5 can multiply to give me 30. All right. Over here on number 1, 15 can multiply to give me 120, and 8 can multiply and give me 120. Believe it or not, for these two numbers, that is the smallest number that they can multiply and equal the same thing with. All right, so that to me, that's kind of crazy, because when you look at 8 and 15, you would think there would be something smaller than 120, but there's not. All right, let's look at number 3. So we're going to go through about half of these as well. All right, so make sure that you understand it. Don't just copy. Make sure that we understand what's going on. If not, you need to come see me. I do not have duty tomorrow, so I'll be in my room at 7 o'clock. All right, for 20, I can split that into 2 times 10. And then I can split 10 into 2 times 5, marking it out when I split it. Okay, 2, can 2 split? Nope, 2 cannot split at all. All right, so now first I'm going to look and see what matches. So on this problem, what's going to match? I have a 2 over here, and I have a 2 over here. So I can only use that 2 that matched one time. So I have 2 times anything that's left over. So what was left over was the 2 at the bottom and that 5 at the bottom. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 5 is 20. All right, so we're multiplying what matches and then what's left over. All right, so number 4, this one has 3 numbers involved. We can still work this out. I believe in y'all. All right, 2 cannot split. So, okay, that's done. Easy peasy. All right, 20 can split. 20 I'm going to do as 4 times 5. Mark that out because I used it. 4 can split into 2 times 2. Okay. Now I'm going to do 15. I can split 15 into 3 times 5. All right, and then 3 and 5, so those, now I'm down to prime numbers. Everything left is prime. So I'm going to look for my matches first. So if you'll see, I have a 2 right here in the first column. I also have a 2 down here. So do y'all see where those 2's matched? So I have a 2 times, so mark that. I also have, y'all see my 5's that matched? So I have 2 5's that match, so I'm going to do times 5. Remember, if it matches, we can only use it once. And then all that's left, is there a 2 for that 2 to match with? I've already marked them out. So we have times 2, what's left, and what's left times 3. Remember, if it's least common multiple, you also multiply what is left. So 2 times 5 is 10, times 2 is 20, times 3 is 60. What that means is 2, 20, and 15 can all multiply to equal 60. All right, you're just going to have to multiply them times different numbers. So like 2 times 30 is 60, 20 times 3 is 60, and 15 times 4 is 60. Okay. All right, last one that we're going to look at together, number 5. So here we have 12, which will split 2 times 6. Mark out my 12. 6 will split into 2 times 3. Mark out my 6. 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 times... Oh, those are all prime. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Sorry. So I have 2, a 2, and a 3. They're all prime. Let's split our 4. 4 will split into 2 times 2. Okay. And there's nothing else that I can do there. All right, so let's look at what's in common. Both sides have a 2. So mark that out. Both sides have another 2. Mark that out. And then I have a 3 left over. If it's least common multiple, you also do what is left. 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12. All right, now if I think about that, 12 times 1 is 12, 4 times 3 is 12. So that's the smallest number they can multiply to equal. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. Remember, you are expected to come in with the whole thing finished. All right, y'all have a good afternoon.